Would you like to know why we have to suffer with mental illnesses all our lives instead of getting better and staying better? Here's the chicken and egg problem that's causing. So the chicken is the disease and the symptoms themselves. When we have these symptoms, we go get treatment. And very often, with some of the tools that we have today especially, when we get treatment, we actually can reduce symptoms to a degree that they're no longer diagnosable as a mental illness, because there are certain criteria that you need to have to be able to diagnose a problem as a mental illness. They need to be interfering with your everyday function, for example. Then we get exposed to the egg, and the egg is chronic stress. And really, the root of the chronic stress is the environments that we build for ourselves. The cultural environment of relationships, how we relate to each other. Are we transactional? You know, if you're going to give me this or that, then I'll be a friend with you. If not, you're worth nothing to me as a human being or anything else. That's a very transactional approach versus approach where you say, you know what, no matter what happens as a human being, you're beautiful, you're worthy of the best things, and so am I. And I will honor you, I will respect you, and I will expect you to honor and respect me. When that happens, you tend to take care of each other, and that caring relationship creates a sense of safety that really eases our nervous system, autonomic nervous system especially, and that decreases the amount of stress in our lives. It becomes what we call a protective factor. But there are other stressors for our organism. For example, air pollution, water contamination. These are stressors. Our organism doesn't really differentiate between emotional stress and physical stressors. The food that was rotten, that had all sorts of bacteria in it, that didn't belong in your body, that's going to be a stressor for your organism too. The Lyme disease that your body is fighting with, that's a constant stressor for you. So all of these different stressors add on to each other, and they take away from your organism's ability to fight new coming stressors. So that's why I call these toxins. And we all have a certain limit to the amount of toxicity that we can tolerate. And beyond that, even if we don't act like we're impacted by that toxicity, our organism is impacted, and we get sick, chronic diseases, addictions, violence, as well as mental illnesses have been associated with that kind of stress toxin exposure. So when we talk about education system, healthcare system, transportation system, think of all the things that cause friction in your life that don't necessarily have to be there, but are there because, you know, the system was built 200 years ago and nobody thought of changing it to fit our needs of today. In those cases, we actually experience unnecessary toxicity in our organism. You experience road rage with somebody, the person that you're raging against, and yourself, and everybody in those cars, and maybe witnesses as well in other cars who are worried about someone hitting them. They all get stressed out, and we all experience a slight increase in the toxicity level of our organism. Yeah, sure, we have a tolerance level. It's not going to kill us to have this happen once or twice a week. But when it happens every day, several hours a day, then it becomes a problem. and especially when we have a lot of different types of these toxicities impacting us, it becomes a problem. So physical environments, systems, our cultures, our relationships with each other are all part of this egg problem here. And I'm going to call them the environment. That's a funky E right there. All right, so that's the egg. That's the root cause of our illnesses, according to science. Then, as we get impacted by those more and more, we start feeling unhappy, and we start creating environments that are unhappy. Think of yourself. When you're really sick, do you have the motivation or the energy or even the goodwill to do something nice for someone else? In fact, you become very demanding, explosive. A lot of us do. You might actually start, trashing the things around you. And believe it or not, those are natural responses to an experience of enhanced toxicity. So you start creating toxic environments yourself. You become a toxic person. Bullies at school, bullies in the workplace, they call them toxic co-workers, toxic bosses, toxic systems that toxic people create in the workplace that are very devoid of empathy. For example, Simon Sinek has a great example where you go to the office and your boss comes in, well, you know what, your numbers are down and we're going to let you go if you don't get them up in a month. Now, this kind of approach is very normal for someone who's experiencing a lot of stressors in his or her life anyway. And when we create toxic environments, then they come back to hurt us and hurt others as well. Because think of the office. I mean, that toxic coworker isn't just affecting one person, it's affecting others as well. And as the stress increases with more people, they create toxic environments as well. So there's an exponential increase in the amount of fear, hatred, and hopelessness in our society, because we're all suffering from this disease that's stress, toxicity, whatever you want to call it. Now, what I've found over the years is we actually have tools to improve this unhappy person by rebalancing their autonomic nervous system. There's a lot of research into this that I'm going to explain in another 2-hour course that tells us that these experiences, environmental experiences, are actually related to changes in the autonomic function, and it's a theory that's been supported by many other studies in the fields of medicine, social science, and counseling and psychology. So without getting too much into that, I'm just going to say we have tools to help these people rebalance their autonomic nervous system and heal themselves. But the unfortunate thing is in our treatments, we don't really deal with the egg of this situation. If we were to get that egg out of this equation, people would remain happy, they would remain healthy forevermore, at least for a long time. And this is the hypothesis I have based on 25, 30 years of research. It's only a hypothesis because I'm sure that this is going to work, this part. Our interventions are able to heal people individually, but no one has even researched what happens when we change the environments that we live in. What would happen if we completely changed our metrics of success in life from power and money to health and happiness, for example? What would happen if we changed our approach to environments and said that part of the metrics of success in life is also having clean environments around us? Because air pollution, water pollution, radiation, these all have impact on our health. Not just physical health as in chronic diseases like cancer, heart disease, lung disease, but also in mental health. Lead from highways and mercury, these are actually substances that can create similar symptoms to bipolar disorder. So why not at least try and see if we can rethink everything that's been done so far by our ancestors in terms of creating systems and cultures in our world, and create something new that really serves our neurobiology and uses all the technologies that we have today. I mean, we have so much powerful technologies that we're not even using because nobody knows about them. Artificial intelligence, the tools that I'm using in my clinical practice, these are all actually things that everyday people can use with very minimal training, and we're not using them. My invitation to you all out there is to join me in my upcoming masterclass, 2 hours, all the basic things that you need to know about your health and happiness. And I'm going to do a lot of videos and diagrams and images so that you get a lot of information very quickly. We tend to think that all good things have to come at a very high price, no pain, no gain. I don't believe that. As someone who's grown and really absorbed the Eastern culture in my youth, I would say that ease is a better path, and I'm going to make all this information as easy for you to access, understand, and learn and apply in your own life as possible. And you will learn simple 3 steps that you can take to overcome depression. Where does that chemical imbalance come from, right? That's the root cause. There's a different perspective that I bring to a lot of things. I hope you find my perspective helpful in giving meaning to your experience and building a path forward. It's at least worth a try to explore this. As a trauma counselor, I explained to kids 3 years and up why violence happens, and that it's not their fault, that they can heal themselves of the symptoms that they suffer because of that violence and hurt and all the different experiences in their lives, like bullying, like poverty, that cause them to hurt as much as they do. And to be honest, My goal in providing this framework to the world is to help everyone understand the important role that our environments play in our health and well-being, so that you will decide it's actually worthwhile to rethink everything that we have, change the things that need to be changed, that no longer serve us, and create a future for our children where people like me don't need to tell children why people around them are hurting each other and hurting themselves. Because if the studies are correct, we really can eliminate poverty, we can eliminate mental illnesses, chronic diseases, heart disease, lung disease, cancer, and we can eliminate violence. They're all connected to chronic experiences of stress. And COVID-19, for example, is based, the severe symptoms are based on the comorbidities that are actually all aspects of this exposure, chronic stress exposure, their chronic diseases, their aging, and their autoimmune system weakness, all caused by this. If you experience 4 or more different types of chronic exposure to toxicities in your childhood, for example, you're 2.5 times more likely to be hospitalized due to autoimmune disorder like lupus or arthritis or asthma. I mean, imagine things like asthma, arthritis, and you're getting hospitalized because of them. Imagine how severe your symptoms must be, and your likelihood increases 2.5 times by just 4 different types of toxicity in your life in childhood or adulthood. So these actually change our genetic expression. Long story short, join me and learn about the basic mechanisms involved, the science behind them, and let's focus this time on just depression, which is the most common disease in the world today, and how we can overcome depression in ourselves, help our loved ones overcome it, and then move on to what we can do for our environments to prevent it from happening again. Much love to you all, and let's create a better world together.